I'm Krista, I'm an addict.
Gracie and I'm not, and welcome back to episode 9. If you didn't see, we have a huge announcement. So October 1st and 2nd from 10 to 4, we will be at the Arts and Crafts Festival in Henderson at Audubon Park. So we have designed some t-shirts we're going to have for our podcast, and we will have them there selling them, and we're also getting some coffee mugs made that we're really excited about. And if you go on our Facebook page at K2 333, you can go and look at what the designs look like. So yeah, we're excited about that. Last week we talked about a story in the river bottoms, and I said that you will see a reoccurring theme with the river bottoms being trouble. So tonight we got another story for you.
So back in, I can't remember if it was 2018 or 19, I'm not really sure. This is the moment that I feel like was like the start of the spiritual journey. I definitely didn't have that connection then. But I remember like praying during this time for my heart to just change. So that's why I say I think it wasn't like the beginning of it. But I had been in and out of, I wouldn't even say recovery. I would say just like being dry and then out in active addiction. And so my mom and I had like a disagreement, and it was the first time that I had left my kids with my mom and left the home, and went with my boyfriend at the time, who was in active addiction, and also like he hadn't been checking him with probation and parole, so he was on the run. So I then was on the run with him. I remember like that's the time that like I was really bad on meth at the time, and like not prior to leaving the house. When I left the house, I like went on this like binge of like just being on meth and methadone and benzos. Like, I mean, I was using everything. And so I think I had been like left for 5 days maybe.
I don't even remember. It was a while.
Somewhere between like 3 to 5 days. I know it was more than 3 days. Anyway, it's irrelevant. My mom and I had got into it, and I left the house off of just running off emotion, really. And I think while I'd been staying at my parents' house, like I was trying to live like 2 different lives. Like I was trying to like get clean, and then I'd fallen out with several of like my people my connections to get high. So I was spending more time like really physically sick than I was high. So the person that I was dating had been on the run for a while, and I knew was on drugs. So that connection was rekindled, and I followed him. And so for the next 5 to 7 days, I don't even know how long I had been gone. Honest to God, that's probably the highest that I've ever been like during that time, because like I said, I hadn't been using like the whole time. So like I went on this little binge of just being high, like from the time I woke up till, well, I didn't really sleep a lot. So but I was using methadone, meth, and benzos at the time, Klonopin. So I don't know how I lived through that, because those are like deadly combinations to mix. So I don't know. I remember like going in. I've kept feeling like people were following me. Just again, psychosis, a reoccurring theme. It takes no time for me to get there. Like I can be sober, and in 3 days I'm in a full blown psychosis. Like, and I don't know. It's not even like a meth thing anymore. It's like my mind's just the first thing to go, because like I think when you know that there's a solution, and you know that you don't have to be living like that when you go back and relapse time and time again, like it's just a constant like mind battle of like I don't know. So anyway, there were several events that happened during that little time that like were just huge like pivotal moments, and it wasn't good moments. Like, there was one time that, like, we had decided, like, we had been up for God knows how long, but we decided we were going to go get married. Like, and again, this is like a God moment of many. So I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I can't guarantee it, but I'm pretty sure some of the drugs that we had got had something else in it, because like I was doing what I thought was meth, and I would do some of the drugs, and then I would nod out, and so I never did that before. So anyway, we're driving to Nashville to get married, and we pull off in this field because both of us were like really tired, and I don't know how long we had been passed out. It'd been some time. We both woke back up. We were like, all right, we're just gonna go to town to get something to eat. Like, Nashville's not probably in the near future, because we both are like nodding out, not being able to stay alert. So we go to leave, and I guess we were driving down the road, and we both nod out again. And so when we come to, like, I come to like a speaker, because obviously we had the truck packed of just stuff, you know, like like a radio speaker, or like speaker hits me in the back of the head and like kind of makes me alert, and something just stopped us. Like, I mean, it was definitely like a jar in the car, and like, I mean, we wrecked. So we're like, all right, we gotta quit tonight. So we ended up calling somebody to come get us. The truck would not turn back on. We parked it on the side of the road. The next day, we go back. Okay, so directly in front of us is a house. Like, had something not stopped us, like, we would have ran right into a house. We go back, and the truck has like a huge like dent, and like something just huge scrape all the way across. I mean, it's like something hit us, or we hit something, and we went all around like the street that the car was parked on, and like 2 streets on both sides, and there was nothing, no skid marks, no like concrete boulder, no other vehicles around, like nothing that we could find of where
what you would have hit.
We would have hit, like nothing. So, I mean, call me crazy, but I just feel like it was like a God thing.
For sure.
So that was like during that time. So that did not stop us. We kept going for like several more days. So I don't know what you all, because I had no idea at the time that my mother had filed a missing persons report on me. I was unaware, so I kept thinking people were following me.
I feel like this was like honestly a huge thing for me through your addiction. Was this little time period. I really can't even, I mean, it seems so long ago. I can't even remember how long it lasted, but I do feel like it was like a while. I honestly feel like it was longer than a week even. I really don't remember, but I remember it being a long time. And I just remember us being scared because we had no clue where you were. We didn't know who you were with. You know, we hoped you were with someone, but we had no clue. And you were obviously like in the river bottoms out of town, so there was no just like no trace of you, I guess. And I remember like us just trying to like brainstorm ideas of where you could be, and I remember thinking and knowing you were at the river bottoms. But it was really hard. I remember like it really taking like a huge mental toll on me through that time, because I was just scared. You know, I mean, honestly, I didn't know if you were alive. And so I remember, I mean, honestly, like I remember one afternoon, me and my friend drove around like just town, just hoping to see you somewhere. And I remember talking to my mom about it, so I told her that I had a feeling you were at the river bottoms, and so she drove down there to look for you. And it had rained so much like the days previous that she couldn't even get down there. Like she couldn't get all the way there because it was flooded. But it was hard. It was definitely...
Yeah, and it like... I was literally living, like, driving 4-wheelers, like, was, like, our main source of, like, transportation at the time. It was, like, 4-wheelers. We were just, like, it was the most selfish thing I had done, because, like, I had no sense of, like, days or time, or, like, I knew when it was, like, getting dark or whatever, but, like, I didn't realize how many days had gone by because I was so completely out of my mind. But like we were going to stores, and I remember I was just like so paranoid. Like I'm like, people are like asking me weird questions. Like one time something happened to the truck, and like the water pump went out, and so we were close to like an AutoZone, and I walk in, there's like a line of people in front of me, and the salesperson's like, can I help you? And I'm thinking, I'm behind 5 people. Why is he asking me if I need help? So I go up there, and he's like, I'm like, I need like an estimate on what this is going to cost. And he's like, well, what's the license plate number? And I'm like, and I just walk right out. Like, I don't even get it. I just walk out. And when I walk back out to the car, he's like passed out. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we just kept like getting like 10 minutes of sleep here and there. Like, I mean, it was just, I am not made for on the run, like at all from, yeah, not at all.
I think, you know, also you had, if I remember correctly, you had like thrown your phone somewhere. Like, you didn't have a phone. Like, it's not even that you were ignoring us. Like, you had like thrown your phone. I feel like you threw it in the river or something, didn't you?
I put it in a hole.
Yeah, like I remember you saying you like after the fact you told me that. But I think the hard part for us, or like even any time you love an addict, that's like before when I said in a couple episodes ago when we said like a trigger for me would be like if you don't text back. And obviously the biggest fear when you know an addict and love an addict is death, really. I mean, that's your biggest fear for them. So whenever you didn't text us back for days, that was the scary part. Like, we had no clue. We genuinely had no clue if you were alive. And that was hard. It was hard to wrap your head around that, you know? Like, what if that was what came? I don't know.
And that, like, it's so hard to hear because, like, I know whenever I was in all that, like, it's hard to admit, like, I wasn't even worried about what anybody else thought. I was so consumed in my own, like, self-loathing that, like, I knew my heart was like I wanted to be home. I did not want to be doing that. Like I said, I'm not made to be, like, running from the cops or, and just, like, all these ideas that were thrown at me, like, let's go do this or that. Like, I knew in my heart, I'm like, that is not a good idea. But, like, I was so codependent on this relationship that I was in that, like, I was willing to do whatever because I didn't want to, like, lose him. And, like, now it just seems so absurd to me to, like, that I would go to all those things. But at that point, like, I was bonded to that person. It's just crazy to me, like, the hold that another person can have on you. And I'm not saying that's their fault. I'm just saying, like, I had got to that point where this person could have said, let's do whatever. And I would have done it. And so anyway, like I said, I kept feeling like people were watching. I was, like, on this piece of land. Like, even though I was with this person, like, I was spending a whole lot of time by myself. Like, they were out doing whatever. And, like, when you're sitting in the middle of nowhere, like, no technology, and dealing with paranoia, like, and just loneliness, like, I got really paranoid. And like, I just ran from everything. Like, you know, I don't do that now. Like, just running from my problems. Like, I just didn't want to face anything. So anyway, I'm out there. Like, everybody that does meth, you know, deals with the whole drone thing. Like, oh, I saw drones. And, like, I'd always heard that. And, like, I was, like, felt like I was going crazy. The other person that I was with was like, you don't see anything. It's not there. You're just twacked out. And I'm like, dude, I see them. So, like, we get on a four-wheeler. We're, like, going through the field on a four-wheeler. And I'm like, I remember being like, there's a drone behind us. And he's like, quit being crazy. Like, I'm tired of hearing about the drones. I'm like, no, there's, like, one right behind us. And he's like, you know, and I'm like, turn around. And he turns around. There's one, like right behind us. Like, and he's like, okay, yeah, there's definitely a drone. So, so with, like, that, like, giving me, like, assurance that, like, I'm not crazy. Like, I still to this day, like, don't know how much of it that I imagine or paranoia took in, or, like, some of the things that I thought were happening. Like, that is a huge, like, mental battle. Like, was that stuff happening or was it not? And, like, I think that is something that needs to be brought to light. Like, I feel like my counselor that I had one time, you know, said, you know, when someone has dealt with trauma or, like, some stuff that that they've dealt with, and they become, like, hyper vigilant, and you're noticing everything around you, like, that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? You notice somebody following you, and, like, you know, if you take 3 turns and they're still following you, they're following you. However, you sprinkle a little meth on there, like, it becomes paranoia. You know, like, I probably was noticing a lot of stuff that was happening, but then, like, you know, methamphetamine was put on that, and like that's so it's just like noticing stuff, but then like adding stories to it. There was a time that I had like I said, I was doing Klonopin really bad, and I was on methadone
while you were out there in the river bottoms the same time period.
Yeah, so I remember like just being like, I'm definitely I'm done. So I waited to be out there by myself. I took a whole handful of Klonopins. Thought I was going to be out there for the rest of the time by myself. It ended up not playing out that way, and like I didn't, like I ended up making it through that. But like there again, my intentions were like I just wanted it to stop. Like that's where I was at. I didn't want to keep living in that misery. And I think, I talk about how I dealt with suicide. I don't think it was so much that I didn't want to live anymore. I just didn't want to live like that. And I wanted to kill that version of me, but like had I just asked for help, like it would just when you're in that state of mind, it just doesn't seem that simple. Now that I'm in my state of mind, like now, like I'm like, well, I should have just asked for help. But like when you are so fogged, like it doesn't seem like an option. Like coming to your family and being like, I need help doesn't seem like you deal with pride and like just having to admit that seems so simple, but it's not when you're in that cycle. So that happened, and then the last thing that we got caught up was, so we had run out of everything, like drugs, money. So we were gonna have to come back to town to like make some money, do criminal stuff to get money, get the drugs, like. And I think at any time in my past when I've got ready to get like in trouble, I always run out of drugs. Like I don't ever go in high. Like I'm always like, it's like
deathly ill.
Yeah. So we go and get gas from a farm, and I don't mean just a little bit. I'm talking like a big old like barrel. So if you can even imagine like two people on a four-wheeler, I'm sitting on the back of this four-wheeler holding this like huge barrel of gas, and we get out to the property and we get off, and I look at him and he's like pulling the barrel, like, and I turn around and here I see the sheriff truck, the probation car, and another truck, and I'm like, oh my God. So I yell at him, I'm like, hey, blah blah, and he's like trying to continue to hide this gas. They don't care about that gas.
They want y'all.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? And he jumps on this four-wheeler to like take off. I'm like, you ain't leaving me. And I have this backpack. I'm always carrying a backpack.
You really did always have a backpack on.
Ready to go. It's an awful feeling to look up and see those three cars coming towards you. And so they're all in there. I turn around, I'm getting ready to jump on this four-wheeler with him, and I turn around, I see him all running towards us, and I'm like, oh my God. So we go a little bit, and then he's like, I can't run with you. Because I don't do stuff like that. Like, I don't just, I do run from my problems, but not from like,
literally.
Well,
maybe, I guess in this sense you were, but.
So anyway, we drive back around. They're like, just like, what are y'all doing? They thought we were making meth out there. We weren't. I've never tried to make meth. I don't know how to. No judgment. I don't. They're like, at this point, I'm probably the skinniest I've ever been in my life. Because I was dealing with postpartum from having a child that I didn't have help from the other parent. Like, I just was going through a whole lot.
It was a hard time.
Yeah. So they get us out there like, are you on drugs? I'm like,
like they knew the answer to that question.
I'm in the middle of nowhere, way nothing. Like,
there's a missing person report against me.
Well, I didn't.
They do.
Oh yeah. So anyway, you know what's crazy is she's like, we're gonna go ahead and take you down. First, I was in such a like crazy state of mind. I really believed that I was not going to jail that day. Like, I remember thinking like, just let me go to my mom's house, and they're like, that's not happening. Like, you're being detained. So they put him in the sheriff car. They put me in the probation car. I'm headed to jail. So, when I tell you that I hadn't showered in probably 4 days, I was covered in mud. I was wearing men's clothes. Like, It wasn't a pretty sight at all. So anyway, that mugshot was one for the books. So, and I was so angry, like in my life, in my addiction. At that, like this last time that I went to jail, I was very grateful. Like I was ready to start this new, like in 2019. Like I was so full of like rage and anger and like just.
I think you were hurt.
Yeah, and it's so, like so many different aspects, and I was, you know, like looking, like I was hurting myself, like, so anyway. We go to jail. They put me in a holding cell. I come back out to booking, and there's like mud. When I tell you there's mud all over the booking area, like everywhere. And I remember being like, "Well, you must be here, huh?" And like they were not amused by this situation at all. But anyway, we both got booked in, and like it's crazy. We were in like a whole like in the detox cell right next to each other. Just it's the most sick I've ever been in my life. Like. Oh my gosh. So I'm in this holding cell, right? And mind you, I have no clothes underneath this, a uniform. I don't know what it's called.
I don't know what they're called either. Are they scrubs?
They're not scrubs. They look like scrubs, but they're not. Anyway, so I have no clothes underneath there because I had scratches, all like cuts from where I was self-harming. And they're like, "Are you suicidal?" I'm like, "Absolutely not. Nope." Because like if they'll put you in a turtle suit quick and put you in medical, and I was not trying to do that. So when I say turtle suit, I mean like it's a green shell looking thing that's like has your...
Is that what it's called, or did you just make that up?
No, I didn't just make that. That's what people call it. If I say turtle suit, everyone that's been to jail knows what that is.
Okay, just checking.
So I told them, I'm like, nope, I'm not. So they sent me immediately to medical and give me a drug test, which failed for everything. So ultimately, that is what I got violated for, was failing a drug test for all of those things. Yeah, that's the worst I've ever detoxed in my life. So I'm in a holding cell, and I mean, they don't give you sheets and stuff when you're detoxing. So you're on like a plastic mat. So I mean, I was like waking up, my face was like stuck to the mat because I was like, I guess drooling everywhere. I was so sick. But I wake up, and there is a girl in there on, I don't know what she was on. Clearly something, but this girl like was rocking back and forth, popping up, like spouting out like comic noise, like pow, boom, and I'm like, what in the world? This is my life right now, and I'm sick. So for at least 10 hours, she sits on the toilet talking to herself, and I mean, I'm waiting. The toilet is like right in front of my face, so this girl's on the toilet right in front of my face, and I'm like, oh my god. So they let her go. They let
comic noises.
Yeah, like pow, boom, king. Like, I swear it was awful. So she gets to leave like that in that state of mind. So
envied her.
No, not at all. Not at all. So anyway, she leaves. Fast forward a little bit. I start feeling better. Whatever. My first court appearance, we get out in the hall in booking. My boyfriend at the time is there, and then my friend is out there, and he's like, "Girl, your mom had a missing person out on you. It was on Facebook." And I'm like, "What?" Like I did not know. And he's like, "Yo, she posted on Facebook that you were missing." I'm like, "Oh, makes sense now." Maybe I wasn't crazy. Maybe I was being looked for. Yeah. So anyway, a humbling experience that I went through during that time, and I've talked to my other friend that was also there. Like he also felt like it was just like a huge eye opener. So we're all in the van going to court, and it's like people I grew up with. Like all of us had been in and out of recovery, sent to long-term treatments, and we all are just like.
It's gonna be chills. You saying that?
I mean, we're all facing like years, like a long time. And it like this, we are not supposed to be here. You know what I mean? Like that's just how.
It's not where you're supposed to meet up again.
And I mean, but thankfully, like I was grateful that we all made it because like the drugs that we all did, like it was taking people out left and right. So I don't know. That was a real humbling experience just to see us all like going to court in shackles. Like just the whole experience was just terrible. And like looking back, we've talked about this. Me and my friend have talked about it. That like was a huge moment in that journey. So anyway, I ended up getting sent to, that's when I went to Trilogy. And they had offered me drug court at that time, and I was like, I'm not doing it if I've got to go to long-term treatment. Like, I just wasn't willing at that time. That was like the biggest, because if they were going to make me go to long-term treatment, I wasn't trying to do, like, I wasn't willing. So looking back, like, I can tell that I just wasn't ready.
Right.
And when I got sent off to, the long-term treatment, like, I was so angry, like, I was miserable. Like, I didn't even want to, I was mad at myself for having to go through this again, and I just, like, I didn't put forth any effort. I wasn't willing at all.
I don't think at the time you were ready to change, like, personal things in your life to do better. Not even necessarily, like the drug and addiction part of it, just, like, the personal things in your life you weren't ready to face and weren't ready to move on from, that you had to get to a better spot in life.
And I didn't even know it was I was ignorant to all that I didn't even know that I needed to change those things about myself. And the thing is, like, looking back through those programs, like, I was told, like, you're told, like, what your character defects are by your peers who watch you every day. Like, I was told those things that I needed to work on, but I didn't, like I said, when I went through all this spiritual stuff, like, until then, I wasn't aware that I even had possessed those character traits, and so therefore I didn't see anything wrong with what I was doing.
I say, going back to, like, you saying about you finding out about the Facebook post or whatever, I remember that being, like, a huge, like, wake up call or reality check for me, because it was just, like, insane almost, because it's hard. I know you've said this too, that people have said this to you, but even me, it's hard to picture, like, even though I know that stuff happened, it's even hard now to sit here and picture those things happening, like 2 years ago, 3 years, however long ago. But anyways, that time was, like, super hard for me. I remember I think every day during that, even though I didn't know at the time, but I would still text you every day hoping you would respond, and, like, hoping that it was just, I do remember sitting at home or whatever and, like, worried about you and just trying to figure out what I could do. But in reality, there was nothing I could do. But I vividly remember, like, just constantly text my mom, like, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we go look for it? Can we do that? And it's exhausting almost to feel like that and have to feel like, it's the weight's on you. In reality, it's not. Like, there's nothing. I think that's important to try to remember through loving an addict too, is that there's nothing you can do, really. They're you know what I mean? Like, you just have to try to support them and love them through it, because their actions, there's nothing you can do to control their actions.
No, and like that, in that state of mind, like I said before, like, there's nothing you could have said or done that would have, like, because it's just the cycle. And I think when you go to treatment and stuff, they teach you about the cycle of addiction, and like, you guys know it, like, y'all know that stuff, so, like, you just backed off. And I think, like, what I've learned over the years is, like I said, I think I've said it before in other podcasts, that, like, the drugs and the alcohol is just a surface. So it's like, what is the reason that you ever picked up in the first place? Like, what? That was, like, what I learned. Like, what happened that changed my life, or, like, where did I lose those coping skills? And when I figured that out, and, like, was able to start figuring out, like, why I had those personality traits, or why I had those character defects, like, then digging deeper and figuring out, like, where things went wrong.
So once again, don't forget, we'll be at the Arts and Crafts Festival, October 1st and 2nd, from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock. I don't know if I said what time it was, but like I said, we're going to have t-shirts there, a variety of sizes, and we will have some coffee mugs if you don't want a shirt, or if you don't want to buy anything, that is fine. We would love to see you guys all, and thank you for your support. It's like insane to us that almost anywhere we go, somebody says something to us, and it means so much to us that there's so many of you guys that support us, and it's really hard to even wrap our heads around how many supporters we have. So thank you guys.
And I think I want to add that, like, you know, one of our biggest goals is to like be able to find somewhere that we can start, you know, recording, that we can really start having people that are in the community, like recovery community and like the family of the addict, where we can start coming and having other people in here. Like right now we're filming out of my apartment, so like we want to be able to start including people and sharing their stories, because I mean ultimately we're going to run out of stories, and you know, I want to be able to, I know so many other people's stories and their experience, and I think the more hope and like experience that we can bring to this, like the better awareness it's going to bring. So that's
and to show how common it is too. I think in today's world it is not talked about how common addiction is. It is on a surface level, but not.
And it is crazy because I went to several events, places like over the last few weeks, and I mean, even going to the store, I run into so many people that either they're addicts that I know that are in recovery or out, you know, like in active addiction, or like family members that I know that their family members are, you know, I've seen them in and out of treatment or addiction and jails and institutions. Like, it's just, my eyes are open, and it's so many people are affected. So yeah, that's what we're wanting to do with all this, is to be able to start like growing and sharing more stories to get out there. So keep coming back.
Bye guys.